Let's face it, no one gets taught how to interview. Most people just repeat the process they've been through themselves. But unfortunately, that means that bad habits don't get corrected, they get amplified. So in this video, I thought I'd highlight the 3 worst types of interview questions that everyone asks and why they're so bad at identifying candidates with the qualities you want in your business. Hi, it's Emilie Gregson here at Signature Career Management, where we help FMCG businesses build market-leading commercial teams. If you're new to us, make sure you click on the logo above and follow our company page for up-to-date market insight, career advice, recruitment tips, and general all-round good content. So let's just jump to it. What would you say is your biggest weakness? Tell me about a time you had a deadline to meet and how you prioritised your workload. How would you react if your client said they wanted a price reduction? These are 3 examples of terrible interview questions. I mean, really bad. But I bet you've either heard them or even said them dozens of times before. And worse than that, you're probably even sat there wondering why they're so bad. But if I asked you, what insight do the answers of these questions actually give you into the real-life behaviours and attitudes of the interviewee? The truth is probably very little. In fact, often the answers are frankly misleading, which is why the vast majority of hiring managers still list gut feel as the biggest factor influencing their hiring decisions. It's therefore no surprise that a study of 20,000 new hires found that 48% of them failed within the first 18 months, and 89% of those were for attitudinal reasons, with only 11% actually being down to skills shortage. So, to help out, I thought I'd provide a bit of an explanation about why these 3 types of interview questions are so bad at assessing attitudes and behaviours, and then if you stick around until the end, I'll give you the link to a very simple framework you can use for designing and implementing interview questions that will help you identify candidates and the types of high-performing traits that will deliver for your business. Common questions. What are your weaknesses? How many times have you heard that question? Probably quite a few, because alongside, what are your strengths? And tell me about yourself. These are the 3 most common interview questions, and here lies the problem. They are too well known. All you get in response to these questions are well-rehearsed answers, which would be great if you were assessing someone's ability to recite pre-scripted responses of self-congratulation, but terrible if you're assessing how someone will perform when working for you. Let's face it, no one's going to tell you that their strengths are, if there's an easy way to do that job, I'll find it, or their weaknesses are, I tend to switch off at lunchtime on a Friday. Instead, you're going to get the standard, my strengths are I'm a self-starter, or my weaknesses are, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. But these responses provide you with zero ability to actually assess the candidates. I get the argument that they're deliberately vague questions whose purpose are to aid rapport building, but rapport building is about getting people comfortable and helping them to loosen up, and let's face it, getting candidates to recite pre-scripted answers whilst you'll judge them is hardly conducive to relaxation. Leading questions. Tell me about a time when you've had a deadline to meet and how you prioritised your workload. Obviously, it's not just this one question. There's infinite examples of questions like this. Tell me about a time you've had to deal with conflict and how you've overcome it. Tell me about a time where you've had to collaborate with others and how you've managed this. They all follow a similar format, but the problem with these types of questions is that you're telling the interviewee the answer that you want. If only all questions were this easy. Take the original question, for example. Can you tell me about a time where you've had a deadline to meet and how you prioritised your workload? This may give you insight into the one time in your candidate's career that they actually managed to prioritise their workload, but it negates to assess the 99 other times that they may have crashed and burned when hit with a deadline. These type of questions give such an obvious tip-off as to the response they're looking for that you'd have to be completely clueless not to guess the type of answer they're looking for. Even when you try to avoid eliciting a typical response such as, tell me about a time you had to adapt to a difficult situation, you're still prompting them to tell you about the time they adapted and not the time they failed to adapt. Like I mentioned, there is a framework for avoiding leading questions, which I'll share with you at the end of this video. But before you have a look at that, just have a think of a way you can ask the question that doesn't lead the interviewee to the answer you're looking for. Now can you appreciate just how ingrained these problem questions have become into standard interview structures? Hypothetical questions. How would you react if your client wanted a price reduction? Most hypothetical questions begin like this. How would you respond? What would you do? How would you react? The problem with this is that there is a huge difference between our hypothetical selves, where everyone answers like a high performer, and our real life selves, where things play out a little bit differently. In reality, it's very difficult to predict how someone will actually behave by asking them hypothetical questions. To put this into context, there's very few leaders out there who fail to appreciate that a toxic personality can destroy group culture. Yet there's thousands of them who fail to sit down and have a straight talk with that toxic individual because they find the situation unnerving. And here lies the problem with the hypothetical questioning. They're very good at testing if candidates know the theory, but not very good at testing how they are at implementing it. Put it in layman's terms, there is a big difference between knowing the path and walking the path. So next time you ask the question, if we hired you, how quickly could you make a significant contribution? Don't bother, because you're unlikely to glean any real insight from the answer. So there's the 3 worst types of questions everyone is asking. Sound familiar? Well, it's no wonder that standard interview questions are so bad at assessing attitudes and behaviours and identifying high performers, and why most interviewers either resort to gut feel, which is why new hires frequently fail, or they simply recruit in their own image, which is why diversity remains one of the biggest challenges for businesses. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, there is a very simple framework for developing interview questions which provides genuine insight into your candidates, and it's so simple you'll probably kick yourself for not figuring it out. So, if you click through to the YouTube video, then follow the links in the comments. It'll take you straight to that framework. But if you'd like some additional help in adapting your selection methodology to give yourself a competitive edge in recruitment, don't hesitate in getting in touch. Share your thoughts in the comments below, make sure you follow our company page, and look out for our next video where we talk you through 4 ways that you can start to develop a diverse and inclusive culture in your business to gain a competitive advantage in talent attraction.